The fact that I'm going to die and I know I'm going to die is what allows me to value my life. The point is, how would I ever be able to value today? I like to think of money as our time and our energy in an abstracted form. What I mean by that is you do this podcast, in exchange for that, you get money. I run Strike, in exchange for that, you get money. You mow a lawn, you fix a windshield, you drive a car for someone else, you get money. So money is the market good that captures our collective contributions to society. It's intended to capture our time and energy so that that time and energy can either be saved or be traded, right? You can't go to the restaurant after this podcast and say, hey guys, I just recorded a podcast, I'll take 2 steaks. They'll be like, what? I don't want that. That's what we call barter, right? To solve for barter and scale the economy and allow us to hyper specialize on something like a podcast. Like a podcast isn't a tradable market good for dinner, for gas, for groceries, but it is for money. And so money is that market good, again, for abstracted time and energy. Now, if I were to store my time and energy in wheat, for example, let's go through that mental exercise. So I work all day on whatever I'm doing, and in return I get wheat. Well, how good is that money, is wheat being the money, at persisting and saving through time? Well, it's very bad, because it's going to go bad and moldy and stale. And so that wheat is going to be worth 0 in about a week, right? Everyone has moldy bread. And then how good is that money in exchange? Can I send that wheat to Europe on my phone, right? And so thinking of money as how to capture your time and energy is a very powerful idea, as opposed to like a piece of paper, or as opposed to something that your government, whatever, tells you to use. Then contrast it to the dollar. If a government can print their own money and debase their money, that means they're debasing by proxy your time and energy. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So also a government's ability to borrow their own money is, in my opinion, as close to time travel as we've ever seen, because you're borrowing the time and energy from the collective populace from the future. That's crazy. You're taking time and energy from the future and saying, we'll pay it back at some point. That's as close to time travel and as malicious of an act. But every time the US government prints a dollar, they're devaluing me in my life, because I've spent time and energy here on this planet. In return for that, I've got US dollars, and now those US dollars are worth less, so I'm worth less.
Yes.
And so the idea that you have a money that's fixed, can't be debased. So the holder, the time and energy of those that hold it cannot be debased. And then that lives outside the purview of a government or a central party or a corporation or any individual is the most powerful concept when it comes to storing our time and energy. And you'd have to think through the history of money. Well, historically, you try and get as close as you can, right? Bitcoin right now, I believe, is as close as we can to the perfect store for our collective time and energy. But once upon a time, it was gold.
Yes.
Why? Because those collection of chemicals get us kind of close. It's harder to find more gold and debase our time and energy than it is silver, than it is copper, right? And people think of real estate as a place to store wealth, store time and energy. Why? Because you can't print any more land. Unfortunately, that doesn't mean you can't print any more real estate, right? They're going to build a building that's 1,000 stories high in Manhattan one day. So we've tried to find vehicles that are close enough at the time and energy piece. And Bitcoin, my interpretation of Satoshi and Bitcoin is the tool that's best equipped to be money, which is the tool that's best equipped to store your time and energy and allow you to save it and exchange it for something in the market. So, that advancement is so powerful. The last thing I'll say, I like to compare the guarantee and promise of Bitcoin as a fixed money to the guarantee and promise of death, and that we can't live forever. What I mean by that is that the fact that I'm going to die, and I know I'm going to die, is what allows me to value my life. If I knew I could live forever, I'd go to the gym in 10,000 years. I'd think about reproducing in 100,000 years. Why would I? The point is, how would I ever be able to value today? If there's infinite amounts of dollars, infinite amounts of debt, infinite amounts of printing currency, it doesn't allow me to value the paycheck I'm getting now. And so the promise that I will die is what allows me to value my life. Time as an asset is infinite, but my time isn't. And it's the promise of Bitcoin, the fact that I have a money that is fixed that actually allows me to value my time and energy right now. And so when you hear Bitcoiners say, I got into Bitcoin, I got healthier. I got into Bitcoin, I lowered my time preference. I got into Bitcoin and I thought about the world differently. It's going from a life of infinity, which is impossible to value, to a life that is finite, that requires you to value it. Does that make sense too?
Yeah, that makes complete sense.